to another Honda CB200 video. In this one we're going to be looking at the wheel of the motorbike, a quick review of the Cush drive. That's on this side, so these are the points at which the bolts or units for the socket attached to. But before we look at replacing these, it's good to give it a tidy up and a clean up, etc. Before it goes down to the garage, who are going to help me remove these, and I'll look at these, covering all this in a separate video. In this one though, I want to have a quick look at the other side. So here we are. So in this bike, as with many others, the rear brake is in the hub, and so there's the hub, brake lining inside there, and there is a set distance that this needs to be for it to be within its working limits, etc. So I thought, before I even look at the expense of replacing the bushings for the Cush drive, is whether or not this is actually a serviceable hub. So we're going to be measuring this in this short video, just to show you how you measure this and whether it's keep an eye on it, whether it's inside its working limit. The reason why I'm particularly looking at this is when I took it down to the chap at the garage to sort of have a look and see if he'd be willing to give me a hand with it, is that I noticed that there's actually quite a lip here. And when we measured it in the garage, I did mention about the wear limit, etc. They measured it across here and it looked fine, but then I said, well, there's this lip here, and all they had was a set of verniers to measure this. So if you don't know what vernier is, we'll show you those. I'm not going to go into how you use them. That's another video, or someone else's video. But we'll measure this, look at the diameter of this, see whether it's within its wear limit, and whether this is actually a serviceable hub, before we look at the expense of replacing the Cush drive, etc, etc. Bearings are good, so I'm not too worried about that, but the Cush drive is, you know, it's a bit of money we're throwing at replacing that. So I'll get the camera set up, I'll get this set up, I'll get some measuring tools, and yeah, we're going to measure the rear brake lining in there. Right, so I hope you can see well enough. So as I said, we're going to measure the diameter of this. So the usual thing to use would be a set of vernier calipers. So we've got this side here which can measure external diameters, and then between these we can measure internal diameters. So we can turn this over, put it in, throw that across, find its fattest point, do that up, and then measuring it we get, I say we're looking at about 140.2 millimeters is the diameter in between there. Remembering though that we have got a lip. So a quick check of the manuals, and I do refer to Haynes and Klima, and they tell me, or Haynes tells me, that rear brake drum internal diameter is 140 to 140.3 millimeters is the diameter it should be, and that the wear limit, i.e. the maximum diameter it can be, is 141 millimeters, and this is telling me exactly the same thing. Okay, so that measurement tells us that where this lip is, it's within the specifications, but I know that we've got quite a considerable lip there. If I do a quick diagram, yep, here we are. So if we take, if we were to take a cross section into here, not a detailed cross section, but basically we've got where the axle goes, and the housing comes down and up and round. So spokes coming off here. So the brake lining sits in here, and it's telling me that the diameter for this lining, actually you can actually see that, yeah, hopefully you can see that, the diameter for this lining (140) to 140.3. But the problem I've got is that my lining is not like that. My lining is like that. Now the verniers only do parallel, so they'll only measure that to that. They can't measure around the corner in there, and I can't use an internal diameter gauge because that needs clear space, and we've got all of this in the way in the middle of our brake unit. So yeah, so there's our central hub, housing, brake lining. So we need to measure around that. So digging around my measuring tools, the best thing I can find is this, which is a gauge. I generally use it when I'm turning for sort of, that's the diameter I want, and then does it actually slip past the item I'm turning. But we can use it in here. It is not by any means an accurate measurement, because the problem we've got is that we can expand this to the hub, we can then wiggle it around, but to get it out I've actually got to sort of wobble it around a bit to get it out, which will distort its measurement. So I'm just going to move around and try and get the fattest measurement I can of this. And then again, adding to its inaccuracy is that it's a bit of a bodge it and scratch it when it comes to actually putting it into the vernier to measure it. So bottom foot in, okay, so try my best to make sure we get a good measurement there. So lock that up. Okay, and with that I'm getting 140.5, which it's not terrible. It's not the end of the world. Remember, the maximum this can be is 141 millimeters, and this is 140.5 if my measurements are correct, bearing in mind the problem with using this kind of device. So I'm just measuring again. So yeah, another measurement, I'm getting 140.6. So this wheel isn't dead. This hub is not a dead hub yet, but it's not got much life left in it. It's only got, what, 0.5 of a millimetre? And this bike's, what, 40 years old? It's gone through 0.5 and 40 years, so maybe another 40 years it will be okay. But it ain't great. If one had all the money in the world, one would replace the hub with a nice new spanky hub, but I haven't got all the money in the world. So, going back to our drawing, our maximum, remember that we're saying our maximum is 141 millimeters diameter, and what I'm measuring from there to there, I'm getting 140.5. So I got 0.5 millimeters of wear remaining, serviceable life on this hub. So that's questionable whether it's worth doing the Cush bushings. Would welcome your advice on whether you think it's still good to go, because if it is, then great, we can look at getting these Cush bushings replaced. So that's using a puller to pull them out, and give obviously a nice clean up, etc. Spokes are looking good, rims are looking good, if you know, old but good. Then you know, got a serviceable wheel. Before we go, there is the spare wheel, so I will quickly go up in the attic and dig out the spare wheel from Pud, the scrap bike, and we can just do some measurements on that and just see what state that one is in. So just hold on for a moment. Okay, here is the wheel from Pud, the scrap bike. So the first thing I note on this one is that the spokes are in quite a bad condition. Yeah, these spokes would need to be replaced. So the situ is the sprocket cover, sprocket itself. Just trying to see if I can see the Cush drives down in there. So what the Cush drives do, in case you didn't know, is that when you put on the acceleration or let go of the acceleration, obviously the chain from the engine drives this sprocket, which drives the wheel. But to have a little bit of cushioning between the drive, the torque of that, and the wheel, you've got these rubber bushings in there, just to help so that when the power comes on, there's a little bit of give in that before the wheel actually turns, and likewise and the opposite way around, whack on the brakes, etc. There's a little bit of give just in that. So giving this a wobble, the only play I can pick up on this is actually the sprocket is play within the sprocket holes for the actual bushings, for the bolts, rather than anything in the bushings themselves. But let's turn this over and let's have a look at the end we're talking about, which is this end in here. I mean, it's rusty, very rusty, but there's hardly any wear on that at all. Hardly anywhere at all on that. So, I mean, there's absolutely no lipping. So straight in with the vernier. Find the fattest place. Lock it down. 140.2. And I can't even see any wear in there from the bike, from the brake pads, brake shoes. So in theory this hub is looking like a really good hub. Bearings, I would say, are shot, so bearings would need replacing. The whole thing would need a good, you know, blast, that kind of stuff. Let's take the sprocket off. So get some tools. Right, if I recall, this isn't actually fat enough to take this off in one go. So this should then come off. A little bit of help needed, I think. Okay, so there are the pins on the underside of the sprocket that engage into there, which is the Cush drive. And the Cush drive is just like the bushing for the suspension. Cylinder of metal, rubber, and a metal tube that the actual bit goes into. And you know what, looking at them, I mean, yeah, they're a little bit rusty. The rubber is intact, the rubber's good. As you can expect for a bike of this age. So really, This is a serviceable hub. Unserviceable spokes, unquestionable rim, but serviceable hub. Take the bearings out, replace them, have the whole thing bead blasted. So what do we do? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about replacing the Cush drive bushings on my wheel. That's what I think I'm going to do. In the meantime, I can rebuild the swing arm, get the wheel on. It's still serviceable, not brilliant, but it's serviceable and safe. I mean, that's the other important thing. It is safe. It's okay. It's not gonna. It's not all bits aren't falling off it. It's just a bit worn. And if I had all the money in the world, yeah, I would want it replacing. But so yeah, the other wheel is serviceable. Get that on the bike. Get the swing arm done. Get that on the wheel on the bike. Get it MOT'd. Get riding it. In the meantime, strip this wheel. Get these bearings out. Get this hub bead blasted nicely. Sandblasted, whatever kind of blasting, get it all serviced and all tickety-boo. Get some new spokes, maybe a nice new rim, and rebuild the wheel. Then I can replace the wheel on the motorbike in due course. What do you think? So there we go. Hopefully this has been a quick video, and it's giving you a little insight into, if you're going to be spending some money on a wheel, is to make sure you check all the wear on it. So, you know, are the spokes in good condition? Is the drum in good condition? Are the bearings in good condition? Before you go and spend money potentially replacing other bits, to find that another part of it has completely failed, that's not replaceable. The lining underneath in the hub, for example, to the best of my knowledge, and again, if you know anywhere, I'd love to know, that can actually replace the lining in there. I'd love to know. To my knowledge, it's a non-replaceable part. Once that goes, the hub is dead. So yeah, so I hope it's been a useful video. Thumbs up if you've liked it. Add your comments in the comment sections. Obviously think about subscribing to this channel. Hopefully we're going to be fairly close to the end of this round of servicing, but if you've not been here before, the main aim of this project is to eventually do a completely strip and rebuild on this 1978-ish Honda CB200. But maybe we'll get to that towards the end of this year if I can get my garage sorted out and get some garage space. So yeah, so think about subscribing, thumbs up, and comments in the comment sections. But thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Bye for now.